Okay. Oli. Somebody nicknamed Oli. There was no man in Queets by the name of Oli Obai.
Oh.
And somebody just threw his name in there and said he's that was what they had came up with. They said that it was just a fancy name, Oli Obai. So.
Well, did your brother hang out with him?
No, I don't think. He was too small. He was too young. I mean, the guy was an old man.
Huh.
And there somebody just somehow, maybe, I don't know if he wore a shirt or a hat that maybe resembled him, but they said he looked, he just came out with the name, Oli Obai, and that was the only one that was in Queets, the old man.
Huh.
I seen the old man one time and talked to him, and he seen that I was the family. He recognized the family, whoever it was, when we was in Queets there, and he said, "Where's that Oli?" He said, "He's my name." He's my name.
Well, just like your son who got your name, you could say, "He's my name."
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why that handed down like that, but it did.
And what was that one?
It was just Rags.
Rags, yeah. Well, how did you get it?
Well, we was over playing baseball over in LaConner one time, over in LaConner in the evening time. And I was drinking with this guy, and this guy said, "You know what?" He said, I inherited a bunch of money, and he said, "Boy," he said, "I really, made myself a rich man." But he said, "You know what? I drank it all up, and I just ended up just nothing but rags." So that's what they nicknamed him, was Rags.
Well, how'd it come to you?
I guess that when I was hanging out and partying with him over there, they said, "How's Rags?"
Sometimes it's like Rags 1 and Rags 2.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, what about Jigs and Ribs?
Well, Jigs, I think Jigs got his name after his dad. I think his dad was Jigs.
Oh, really?
And that I don't remember what was that Jigs. I think was he in a comic book or something? There was
yeah, there was a Jigs in the comics.
Jigs, and I think that's what it was. He was in the comic. Then that was his dad. His dad was Jigs. So I think that same thing as me and Junior. I think it was just a hand me down.
Huh.
And Ribs, I guess, just with Ribs, he was so skinny.
Oh.
He was so skinny for when he was a little kid there, and I guess that's all it showed was probably his ribs were hanging out.
Even in his older days, he never did put on a lot of weight.
No, he didn't. He really didn't. He was really slim and trim.
We were just looking at some pictures the other night. One time, D.A. and I went across the river with the smelters, and I got some pictures of Ribs standing out there on the log, waiting for the smelt to come in, give the signal. And then I think it was Eileen and Norma were anchoring the net, and Ribs and Tommy Humphreys went out in the canoe and circled him in. Yeah, we were looking at those pictures, and he was a pretty healthy man. It seemed like
he was a real good pitcher. He had a knuckleball that I don't think anybody could top it.
Wow, in hardball, baseball.
Baseball, it was. When it came at you, it just came. You could just about count the thread on the ball.
Yeah, it was so slow and straight.
Yeah, it was just floating,
bouncing around.
Just floating, kind of like that, right at you. And he just every time that you swung to miss it, he just laughed. He just knew that. He said, again, I mean, that was his famous pitch. He just every time he threw it, he knew that he had you stumped.
Did y'all have a fast pitch league?
It was hardball.
For a team?
It was hardball for different tribes were playing different tribes for years, just kind of like this canoe paddle taking place.
Huh. Yeah. And now it's all softball.
Yeah.
Huh. What about
too much hard work?
Chasing after that little hard ball goes too far out in the field. What about in your family? I was trying to think of your brothers and sisters. I couldn't think of any other nicknames.
Oh, Putsy.
Oh, of course, Putsy. Yeah.
But yeah. I think Putt Putt. I think that somebody they pick up names from different from different people that
Sure.
they know they're in different places. But I think Putt Putt. I don't know. I think that's what they named her is kind of like the way Ole got his name. There was somebody from Tohola. I think her name was Putt Putt, and I think they said, well, she looks like Putt Putt. So it just fits it right in there like a shoe.
Yeah, that's how it often is. Huh. So what about Calvin and Porky?
Yeah, I used to get that from. I never got it from Porky, but when I talked to Calvin was saying that when they were kind of like twins when they were growing up. They said they ate a lot of pork and beans, and Hal George told him, said one is pork and one is beans. So he said that way he didn't get them mixed up. One was pork and one was so that's how that stuck with him, I guess.
Yeah.
Pork and beans.
And of course, it's kind of like with Calvin, people knew his name.
Yeah.
But with Porky, I never knew. What was his name?
Yeah,
Kenneth.
Yeah.
That's right. When he passed away, everybody heard his name.
Well, that's the same way with Jigs.
Right. Nobody ever said Chris.
Yeah, nobody ever said Chris, and then said, what's his name? Then they said, who's that? And said, well, Chris. Well, Chris who?
Yeah.
And they said they were trying to figure out, they were trying to explain who he is, and you never know until he says, oh, you mean Jake.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't at that time, wasn't there 3 Chris's, though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they had to have special names.
Yeah, well, I think Jigs was a hand-me-down from his
dad.
His dad.
But then there was another Chris Penn,
Yeah.
Yeah,
there was another Chris. But I think his Jig, he was old man Jigs.
Yeah. And Ribs, nobody ever knew his name was, what was it?
Yeah,
Thomas, yeah. And Tom Tom, I guess, was named for him, Little Thomas.
Yeah.
And he went by Tom Tom. Let's see.
Well, how about Sluggo?
Yeah, they said he was a boxer, huh? Oliver was, anyway.
Oh, I guess so. Yeah, well, I don't know. I knew he wrestled.
Oh, wrestling. Okay.
Yeah.
And then again, Sluggo, Wally inherited that from him.
From him.
Yeah.
The hand-me-down.
Yeah. And Larry and I don't know if Larry and D.A. and the others ever had other nicknames. Just Wally.
Yeah.
Sluggo.
There was my son there, my oldest boy, when he was a little guy. I seen a fisherman down here. He had a fancy last name. I mean, his first name was, he had a fancy name there, and it was, what did I call you? Knutson.
Oh, I remember him.
The guy's name was Knutson. And I said, boy, that's a fancy little name. So when he was a little guy, I just kind of threw it on him. I said, that's Knutson. Somebody asked, who is that kid? And I said, that's Knutson. It sounded real like a little educated professor.
Yeah, but it stuck.
Yeah.
So how'd Chris end up meaning telling stories, I wonder? He must have just been a big storyteller.
Well, yeah, I think that it stuck to him by all of the stories that he told. I think that he bent a lot of the stories that, and a lot of people, they knew it. They kind of, once he got on to talking there, I think people said, "Oh, he's getting way out of bounds."
There goes Chris.
Then pretty soon they'd nickname somebody else Chris. Hey, Chris.
Yeah. One time, a couple of years ago, he came to the door over here, and I think it was Dimitri opened the door and didn't know who the guy was because he'd been gone for a long time, and he was asking for Charlie, I guess. And he said, "Well, who are you?" He said, "I'm Chris." And Dimitri said, He didn't think there really was a Chris.
Well, when we seen him in Aberdeen, he told us to say hello to somebody. Then he said, tell him you talked to Chris. And tell him, because he said, Ask him. He said, I'm the one that told him how to spell cedar, I think.
Yeah, right, Chris. Same thing with mupper. You know, that turned into a verb too.
Yeah.
To mup.
Well, mops. You know, R.V. Ward, when R.V. was alive, R.V. always tagged somebody with a name. You know, he just tagged.
So a lot of these nicknames came from him.
From R.V. Mops. He nicknamed Mops, and I guess he must have had the mop hair or something to make him, you know, or it was something.
I heard he pulled him out of the water down at the fish plant or something.
Maybe that's what
and
happened.
his hair was all,
you
know, dusky.
Yeah.
I don't know about Sut, though. Nobody seems to know the story of Sut's name.
Well, Sut, again, from R.V. R.V. just had to, Sutphin, I think. I think that he's an uncle. Ron's uncle. There used to be a coach in Forks by the name of Sutphin.
Oh.
His last name was Sutphin. And I think that his uncle tagged that onto him. So, you know, Sutphin, that was the last name of that coach.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I never heard about that.
Then R.V. nicknamed him Shag.
Oh.
Because he said he looked like a shag with his long neck. So R.V. had everybody tagged.
What are some others R.V. came up with around here? Do you remember?
Anytime I see somebody, if they've got a nickname, I'm trying to remember now that comes from R.V.
A lot of them do, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.